So, okay.
It's in progress now.
It's in progress. No. Thanks. Okay, so welcome. We're going to look again, or we're still looking at Paragraph Zion 27. If you have a Tehilim, if you want to follow inside. I'm also going to try to mute everybody. I don't know how to mute everybody at once. But... Sorry. I'm getting there. I'm learning how to use this. Oh. When we use Zoom for school, it's much easier. We just go. Okay, sorry. Okay, so Paragraph Zion. The first time we met, we just spoke about Tehilim in general, and last time we spoke about the origins of this capital of Tehilim, or more specifically, the origins of it being said in the month of Elul, and we came to the conclusion that in this capital of Tehilim, we have a reflection of the whole month of Elul, and all the different explanations tell us, which we obviously will not be able to get into, not only a reflection of the month of Elul, but a reflection of our whole Avodah, our whole service for this over this time span. So we came to the conclusion last time, or the thing that we concentrated the most on last time, was the idea of Hashem's midah of mercy, of rachamim, that this is the time where Hashem has mercy for us, and that we need to tap into that level of mercy during this time. Today I want to go looking at the psukim inside this capital of Tehilim and see the various lessons. What is David HaMelech talking about? Who is he talking to? And what are the practical lessons for us? So the last time we looked at the very first line, we looked at the words of David, Hashem, Ori v'yishi, by David, as we explained. Hashem is my light and my salvation. Mimi ira, from who should I be afraid? Hashem ma'oz chayai. Hashem is my fortress, my stronghold. Mimi efchad, then from who should I fear? And we spoke about this not only alluding to general emunah, but that David HaMelech is saying that that Yishi, the words Ori v'Yishi, talking about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that we face Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with a different, or a much less kind of trepidation, much less kind of fear, because we know that Hashem is our light. In other words, he gives us clarity, helps us to understand what we're supposed to be doing and what we're not supposed to be doing. And Yishi, he is our salvation, referring to Yom Kippur, that even if we do something that's not so good, that Hashem gives us the opportunity and the strength to do teshuvah. That is pretty much what we got up to, just taking this to a bit of a bigger level, speaking about this idea of I don't know why Auntie Jessie is phoning now. Let me just decline. Sorry. So taking this to another level of belief, David HaMelech is making the statement. He's saying to us that, and it's probably something we could all relate to, that when we feel that Hashem is there, and he's going to repeat the same idea as we go through the capital of Tehilim, that when we feel trust in Hashem, when we feel Hashem's presence, when we feel Hashem is there with us, then ma'oz chayai, then he is our fortress, our strength, and we don't have to be afraid. But I want to concentrate a little bit more on today is the different kinds of tefillah, the different kinds of davening that David HaMelech is alluding to in this capital of Tehilim, and how he calls on Hashem to help us with that davening. So he starts off, okay, by saying to us in different words, davening is hard. Okay, it's not easy. It's not easy to daven, and the commentaries explain to us that when a person starts davening, the clippers in the world, all the negative things of the world attack us. And immediately, as a person begins to daven, they will be bombarded by a whole lot of external thoughts, whether it is things going through their mind of what they still need to do today, whether it's more philosophical, whether it's just plain, I'm not in the mood, whatever it is. But the moment we start davening, we are bombarded, and it doesn't matter who we are bombarded by reason not to daven, or to disturb our davening, or to distract us from our davening. And this is what David HaMelech starts off here. He says that as soon as I start davening, then what? Okay, and this capital of Tehilim is going to deal with all the different levels of davening, which we're going to pick out some of them and see how David HaMelech tells us what's important and how to face these various tefillahs. One of the things that David HaMelech says is that if you want your yontif to be inspiring, if you want to have a good yontif, and we know that we spend many hours over the yontif time davening. If you want it to be an inspiring yontif, you need to start preparing in advance for it. You really have to start preparing. We have such a halacha that we start preparing for a yontif a month before, right? So we immediately begin learning the laws of Pesach a month before Pesach, and etc. All the different Yom Tovim. We have this rule that we learn for it a month before. How do we prepare for Rosh Hashanah a month before? Is by studying, or by saying even, this capital 27, which contains in it all the tricks that David HaMelech knows to tell us how to daven nicely. And if we study them, we get used to it, and we start saying L'David Hashem Eiri during the month of Elul, a full month before Rosh Hashanah, this will provide us with an easier time, and it will be more inspiring when we daven on Yontif, because we already have been preparing ourselves for this month before. And so David HaMelech begins, and he says, when I start davening, he doesn't use exactly those words, this is what happens to me, and what can I do about it? So let's have a look. Then he says, Bikrav alai mereim. This is pasuk beis. He says, when wicked people approach me, lechol et basari, to eat my flesh, sarei v'oivali, they are my enemies. Hema kashlu v'nafalu. They stumble and they fall. So again, at a surface level, a simple level, David HaMelech is talking about his enemies who got up to fight him. David HaMelech had many physical enemies, lots of wars that he fought. And he says, the whole time that I fought these wars, and probably the most notable one is his war with Goliath, I knew all the time that it wasn't my strength that was fighting these wars. And so I stood up and I fought with confidence. And I knew, why did I fight with confidence? Because I knew that Hema Kashlev and Afalu, they will stumble and they'll fall. I had confidence. And that's our first level of understanding these words. A little bit of a deeper level of understanding these words. When David HaMelech says, our enemies, okay, when he says, Bikrov alai mereim, my enemies came, le'echol es basari, to eat my flesh, sarai va'oivali, they were my tsaros and my enemies. And David HaMelech says what he is saying to us is that often our enemies are our tsaros, our challenges, the troubles that we have, whether they're small or big. Okay, so whether our challenge is that we can't open the pickle jar, or our challenge is, God forbid, bigger things, parnasa, life and death, finding shidduchim, having all, like whatever the big challenge is of the moment, of the time. How do I face that, says David HaMelech? And he gives us the answer, the hint. He says, if you have a look in Pasuk Gimel, he says, B'zos ani v'teach. In this I trust. Our method of facing any challenge is in trust. In B'zos ani v'teach, in this I trust. So what is it that he's trusting. What is he actually trusting? So again, surface level of understanding what is trusting is that he's trusts Hashem is going to help him. He's facing difficulties and he believes Hashem will help me. But a deeper level, and one that's really hard for us, is to trust in the challenge that we're facing, that is what Hashem has planned for me right now. And that's probably one of the most difficult levels of being. To trust, as he says, bezos, in this challenge, ani bateach, I trust. The Chofetz Chaim says that what is bitachon? What is trust actually? And we like to think that trust is saying Hashem will make it all good. Hashem will make it all right. We like to think that that's a nice, comfortable way of understanding what is emunah, what is bitachon, what is trust. I believe that if I believe in Hashem, He'll make everything right. And the Chofetz Chaim says no. Okay, that's not what trust is. Trust is believing that what Hashem does is right. Okay, no matter how difficult it is for me, no matter how much I don't really like it, okay, no matter then believing that this is part of Hashem's plan. And that's probably one of the really difficult levels of bitachon. And David HaMelech is saying to us, that's where we need to be. That's what we're supposed to be working towards. We're supposed to be working towards that feeling that Hashem knows what his plan is. He knows what we're doing. That is real bitachon. And so he asks Hashem, and that's Pasuk Daled, one of the very famous psukim. He says, Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem. There's one thing that I'm asking from Hashem. Oisa avakesh, that I'm pleading for. Shifti beveis Hashem. Put me to live in the house of Hashem, kol yomei chayai, all the days of my life. Lachazos b'noam Hashem, so that I can see the pleasantness of Hashem, ulevaker b'heichaloi, and that I can visit in His heichal, in His space. This is a very strange pasuk. If like you probably know it better than other psukim because it's a song and it's even got its own dance, and so people know it. It's got different tunes. We know the words, but if you stop and you think about it for a moment, what is David HaMelech actually saying? He's saying, I have one request of Hashem, and then he's giving Hashem a whole list of requests. It also follows strangely on from the last three psukim, because the last few psukim, I'm telling you, were all David HaMelech telling us about his great trust in Hashem. As long as you trust in Hashem, everything will be fine, everything will be good. I trust in this, I trust in that. And then he says, but one thing, Hashem, please be nice to me. Okay, please take me back. Let me live in your home. Let me be there. So what happened? Okay, why did he suddenly say this pasuk now? Is going to be our first question to this, and that's going to be an easy answer. The Mepharshim tell us that David HaMelech actually wrote this chapter of Tehilim in his old age. In his old age, his generals no longer allowed him to come to war, and he was stuck at home. So he was no longer asking Hashem what he had been asking before, save me from my enemies. And he was no longer saying to Hashem, I need you to keep me safe, because he was home, so he wasn't facing battle. And so he's got his other request, which we know is, let me build the Beis HaMikdash. Please let me build the Beis HaMikdash. Let me bask in your glory, Hashem. That's what I want to be doing. But we want to look at this a little bit more deeply. And there's a very almost strange Yalkut that comments on this pasuk. It says that when David HaMelech says this to Hashem, he says, Hashem, I have one request of you. I want you to bring me into your home. I want you to let me see your greatness, your pleasantness, and I want you to let me be a constant visitor there in your sanctuary. Hashem says to him, David HaMelech, you said, Achas sha'alti, you have one request of me, and then in the next breath, you listed three things. Plus, we know you have like lots and lots and lots of other things that you've asked me over the years. So what is this? Okay, one thing, three things, 100 things. What are you talking about? And David HaMelech answers Hashem. He says, Hashem, I learned that from you. So what does it mean? I learned that from you. Tells us in the Torah that when Hashem says to us Yidden, he says, there is one thing I want from you, and that is to fear me. Ki im le that's the only thing I want from you, Yidden. And then Hashem proceeds to give us 613 mitzvahs. So David HaMelech is saying, well, Hashem, I learned that from you. You say you want one thing, and then you give 613 mitzvahs. I say I want one thing, and then I tell you all the things that I want. So what is Hashem saying to David, and what is David HaMelech replying, and how does this all fit in? And commentaries explain to us that when Hashem said to us, all I want from you is to fear me, that's all he was asking from us. The 613 mitzvahs that Hashem gave us, or has given us to do, is a plan book of how to get to that which Hashem wants us, which is to fear him. If Hashem would just say to us, I want you to fear me, we would have no idea what to do. How should we go about this? What does it mean to fear Hashem? How can me, a mere mortal, start fearing God? I don't know what I'm supposed to be fearing, who I'm supposed to be. So Hashem gave us a plan. How will you reach the highest levels of fear of God, of Yiras Shamayim, of all of that? The way you're going to do it is via the 613 mitzvahs. Why 613 mitzvahs? So that you reach the one thing that I want from you. And so David HaMelech is telling Hashem, I have exactly the same thing. There is one thing I want, and that is to connect with you, God. That's the one thing I want in my life. Now let me tell you, Hashem, how I want to connect with you. And so when David HaMelech says, Achas sha'alti, I have one request, that is exactly, I have one request, and that is to connect at a deep level with Hashem. And now let me tell you what my thought process is. In order to connect with you, Hashem, I need to be in your Beis HaMikdash. I need to see your pleasant ways. I need to feel all of that. That explains that Yalkut a little bit, that David HaMelech was really asking just for one thing. The other commentaries tell us, the Chida actually says that the word achas is spelled with the letters Aleph, Ches, and Taf. And he says it's an acronym. Aleph stands for Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. Ches stands for Chaye Olam Haba, life in the world to come. And Taf stands for Torah. And when David HaMelech says, Achas Sha'alti, he wasn't saying I have one thing of you to ask of you. He was saying, I want the land of Israel, I want life in the world to come, and I want Torah. And those three things is what I need, what I want in order to connect with you, Hashem. And in fact, the Al-Sheikh goes so far as to say that, like we all know, that David HaMelech, more than anything else, he wanted to build the Beis HaMikdash, and he was not granted. He wasn't granted that. He wasn't given the ability to build the Beis HaMikdash. And the Al-Sheikh says that the whole reason that David HaMelech wanted to build the Beis HaMikdash was so that he could connect with Hashem at the very deepest level. And so actually, he did manage to connect to Hashem at the deepest level. And so he did get what he wanted, although he didn't get the Beis HaMikdash. Interesting to look at what he asks for. He says in this pasuk, he says, Shifti beveis Hashem, okay, let me sit in the house of Hashem, kol yemei chayai, all the days of my life. In other words, I want to be a permanent resident there. Lachazos b'noim Hashem, I want to see the greatness of Hashem, the pleasantness of Hashem. And then he finishes off with something that seems contradictory. Ulevaker b'heichalo, I also want to visit his place, his sanctuary. So it seems that what he's asking for are two contradictory things. When he says, I want to live there, I want to be this permanent resident, and then he also says, I want to be a visitor there. Do you want to live somewhere, or do you want to be a visitor somewhere? So we always have this battle when my children come home from overseas. Do they want to be just part of the household again, or do they want to be treated like visitors? So when it comes to what I make for supper, they want to be treated like visitors. Okay. When it comes to whatever else, that's when they want to be treated like children in the household. So we have the same trouble with Hashem, so to speak. We want to have both relationships with Hashem. We want to be part of his family, and we also want to be a visitor. Okay, so this is what David HaMelech is saying over here. He's saying, Hashem, shifti beveis Hashem. I want to be there and feel comfortable and at home, etc. in your surroundings, Hashem. But I also want to be a visitor. What is the difference in our relationship with Hashem when we're feeling just at home and we're just okay with Hashem, or when we are a visitor? So the idea of shifti beveis Hashem is this idea that I feel very comfortable and I don't ever feel like I'm finished. So imagine that you learned Torah, and at the end you finished learning 5 books of the Torah and you said, well done, okay, close them, now I move on to Shakespeare or whatever else is my next pursuit. We can never finish becoming close to Hashem. Whatever we learn, whether it's learning, whether it's davening, whatever it is, what I did today, I can learn and do more tomorrow. I can get more and more and more. And this is why David HaMelech's request is, shifti beveis Hashem. Keep on returning me to stay and live in the house of Hashem. Every day, let me find something more that's inspiring, something deeper that gets me, something that makes me feel closer every single day. And the interesting thing about Torah is that you can learn the same paragraph over and over and over and over again. And you can, every single time you learn it, you can learn a deeper level and a deeper level and a deeper level, enjoying. So that's being the permanent resident. I'm always going to be there. I'm always going to be learning. The trouble with that is that sometimes it becomes same old. Okay, we like had enough. So people always say, oh, look at them, they're newly married. Okay, they just got married, so sweet, right? I always wonder about that, because what would I rather be, newly married or old married? Okay, and it's a much nicer place to be old married. Okay, to be comfortable with a person, to know the person much better. So what is so amazing about being newly married? The newness is exciting. Then that's the visitor that David HaMelech is talking about. And he says, in my relationship with Hashem, where I've become comfortable, where I've become shifti beveis Hashem, where I am sitting in Hashem's house all day, I still want levaker behechalei, to have that element of newness, visiting, just coming in, being treated a little bit differently, having all that excitement that I don't know about. So that Torah becomes comfortable at the one level, but exciting still at the other level. That's what David HaMelech is asking for. And this particularly applies to our davening, that it's because we daven every day, it's particularly hard to make it exciting, to make it new, to make it inspiring. And this is what David HaMelech is saying. I want to be comfortable with my relationship with you, Hashem, and my davening, and get on with it. But I also wanted that every single time I daven, I feel a new level of connection. I feel something else that I like, that I'm excited about. And David HaMelech explains, and he says, Pasuk Hey, if you're following, because I feel confident, Hashem, that you will keep me, you will hide me in your sukkah on a bad day. You will hide me in the hidden places of your tent, and you will lift me onto a rock. In other words, what he's saying nicely in painting us a pretty picture is that Hashem will look after us when things are not great. And so here we are talking about David HaMelech understanding that throughout his life, whenever he's faced difficulties, whether it has been physical difficulties, he's fighting enemies and suddenly he's about to be captured and then he's saved, which happened to him many times. Or alluding to a more famous story where David HaMelech's whole family, descendants, were wiped out by Atalia, the wicked queen, and one baby was saved and hidden in the attic of the Beis HaMikdash, on top of the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, and that baby carried on the line of David HaMelech, the lineage of David HaMelech. In fact, that's why we refer to the Beis HaMikdash as Sukkah's David's Sukkah, the place that David's descendants were kept safe. Okay, that they survived as a result of being there. So this is possibly, or what he is alluding to in this pasuk. And then thirdly, just to remind you, we said it in the very first time that one of the reasons that we say this kapitel of Tehilim during this time is because of this pasuk, which hints to the holiday, the Yom Tov of Sukkot. So this is David HaMelech saying, Hashem, I know you always take care of me. You look after me. And then, and he tells it, he says, you lift my head above all my enemies around me, and I bring sacrifices in your tent, happy sacrifices, Ashira, I will sing, Hashem, and I will play music to Hashem. So this is a huge statement of confidence, of happiness. Hashem, I trust in you, whatever comes my way, I trust in you. I know that you'll save me, over you have saved me, and that I will sing happy songs to you. And then David HaMelech changes to a completely different tone of voice. He says, Shema Hashem Kaili, please Hashem, listen to my voice, I'm calling out to you. V'chaneni v'aneni, be gracious to me and answer me. So it seems like David HaMelech suddenly got scared. He just made this whole announcement, how he knows that Hashem is going to look after him, and he's not scared. And then he turns and he says, Shema Hashem Kaili, please Hashem, listen to my voice, okay? Be nice to me, answer me. So what is he saying? And by most opinions, he's once again speaking about our connection to Hashem through prayer, through davening. The word Shema is an acronym, Shin Mem Ayin, Shachris, Mincha, and Aravis, which is the way we say Ma'ariv. Here, David HaMelech is speaking about formal prayer. There is a necessity in our lives to have formal davening, and David HaMelech is telling us that through formal tefillah we can get close to Hashem. Most people like to argue that point, because most people like to say, I don't want to say words from a book that the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah made up. I'd much rather I get closer to Hashem. I can connect with Hashem much better if I say what's in my heart. And yes, there is room for that. We'll see that a little bit later. David HaMelech speaks about that. But there's a very necessary part of our connection to Hashem, which comes through formal prayer, saying words that possibly we don't even understand, saying them over and over, the same today as we said yesterday. Keeping that is formal prayer, Shachris, Mincha, and Arvis that we should say. And one of the ways that helps us in this difficult task, because it is a difficult task to keep up enthusiastic daily prayer, is v'chaneni v'aneni. When we see Hashem be gracious to us, when we see Hashem answer our prayers, there's nothing that inspires us more. When a person feels that Hashem is answering them, that there's results from their praying, that's the biggest inspiration to continue. And this is what David HaMelech says. He says, Shema Hashem, Hashem, I'm going to do this formal davening even though it's really hard, but I need your help. And what do I need of your help? I need you, chaneni v'aneni, I need you to be gracious to me and to answer me. People have so many excuses why formal prayer doesn't work for them. Whether it is, if I'm home in my own house, it's better than if I'm at shul. If I say my own words, it's better than if I say someone else's words. We have a million trillion excuses why formal tefillah doesn't work for us. And everybody has those excuses. And they're true, they're real, it's real in our lives. And the Baal Shem Tov gives a mashal to explain what it is. He says that a king had a treasury, and he got a whole lot of engineers to come into his treasury area. And he says, I want them to be able to see the treasury so that they know what's there. They know that I'm rich. They know that I have all these precious things, but they shouldn't be able to walk all the way in and steal or take or whatever it is. So he got all these clever people to put the right kind of lights and the right kind of facing the right ways and the right kind of things, so that if you stood away, a little bit away from the treasury, it seemed that the whole treasury was surrounded by walls, by glass walls. If you would really know what was going on, if you were some kind of engineer, you would see that there wasn't a single wall there. It was all an illusion. But nobody came past those walls, because to everyone it looked like there was glass walls there and didn't want to go smash in the glass. There was one person who was not afraid to walk in there, and that was the king's son. because he had been involved with putting up all that lighting and all those illusions around the treasury. So he knew that the walls were garbage, that you could just walk straight through and you could get to the treasury. And the Baal Shem Tov says that this is us and davening. Anything that prevents us from getting close to Hashem through davening is a wall, okay, an illusion of a wall. It seems to us from the outside that it's stopping us. It looks like we can't get through. It seems that that's something up there that's going to prevent me from reaching the treasury. But really, says the Baal Shem Tov, we are the king's son, and we know that those walls are an illusion. And what should we do? Just as you would through any illusion, if you wanted to get to the treasury, you would just walk straight through. And he says, if we could see that with our davening, if we could realize that all we have to do when it comes to davening is to persist, okay? I don't feel like it and I still do. I don't want to say those words and I still say them. I don't feel amazing when I'm saying them and I continue and I say it. All of that is pushing through the illusionary wall, and it will reach us, it will get us to the treasury. He then continues, and he says, Lacha amar libi, my heart speaks to you. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Es panecha Hashem avakesh, your face, Hashem, I am looking for. Strange pasuk, doesn't seem to make any sense at all. Okay, this pasuk says, to you my heart says, seek my face. Your face, Hashem, I'm looking for. What is David HaMelech actually saying? So I'm first going to tell you an unusual explanation for this pasuk and then go back to the more usual ones. One of the commentaries that I came across says that this pasuk is actually David HaMelech speaking to the Jewish people. He's the king and he's speaking to the Jewish people. And he says, Lacha amar libi, my heart tells me to tell you, Yidden, you Jews, Bakshu fanai, seek my face, David HaMelech's face, because then, es panecha Hashem avakesh, I seek God's face. And the commentary explains to us that simply seeing a tzaddik, simply seeing a king, makes us connected to God. Just the act of seeing a great person connects us to God. And it made me think right away that when years ago when we would visit the 770 and we would be, normally we did it on the day we were leaving, we would try and be by the door when the Rebbe came in, and lots of people would gather there, and the Rebbe used to give the little children tzedakah to put in the tzedakah box. And it always fascinated me that mothers who wouldn't let their own sister or brother hold their baby would just pass their baby to the front so that the baby should see the Rebbe, or hold their babies up high above their heads and like try and get their baby to look at the Rebbe. And I was always very fascinated by it. And this pasuk answered this thing in my head. Just the fact that the baby saw a tzaddik is going to affect the baby. And all other people around just didn't have their mothers making them look. But anybody who looks at greatness, wherever you have the opportunity to see a king, a tzaddik, okay, somebody great, you should know that just the act of looking at that person is going to affect you, and it's going to make you behave, and it's going to make you connect differently with God. And so this, says the commentary, the Farish, this is a different explanation of what this pasuk is saying. David HaMelech is giving advice to us Yidden, a practical tip. You want to know a practical, easy way to be affected and connected with God? Look at me, okay? Look at me, King David, and you will be affected. A more traditional way of understanding this pasuk and what David HaMelech was saying is twofold. David HaMelech is speaking about looking, bakshu panai, look at my face. So we all know that looking at someone's face doesn't just mean looking to see if they have high cheekbones and how their lipstick is on today, but looking at someone's face is looking deeply into someone, seeing somewhere much further into them than just what you're seeing on the surface. In fact, the word panai, or my face, is from the same Hebrew root as pnimiyut, which means my essence, my inside. And says David HaMelech, he turns to Hashem and he says, Lacha Amar Libi, my heart is begging you, Bakshu Panai, look at my inside. There's so many times where what we reflect and who we really are different. And only Hashem knows what's going on in our hearts. And only Hashem knows if we are really good. And he sees our deeper needs and he sees our deeper desires and he cares, right? And this is what David HaMelech says. Don't judge me as the world judges me by my external show. But L'cha Amar Libi, I'm asking you, Hashem, Bakshu Panai, seek my inside, see what I really am, who I really am, what I really do, and then judge me and judge me that way. And even deeper than this, on the same kind of theme, David HaMelech is saying to himself, he's saying, Amar Libi, I'm saying to my heart, Bakshu Panai, seek my inside. What David HaMelech is saying is that in order to connect to Hashem, you first have to figure out who you are. When you can figure out who you are, then you can connect to Hashem. And so he says, Amar Libi, my heart is telling me, Bakshu Panai, look inside yourself. Figure out who you are, what you need, what you want, how you need it, how you want it. And once you have that, once you have figured all that out, then you can turn to Hashem, right? Then you can ask Hashem for everything you want. I don't know if you've ever written a letter where you, in your head, you think first, like, there's so many things I want. There's so many things I need. I'm going to make a list. And you sit down to make the list. And there's not nearly as many things as you thought you needed. There's not as many things as like you thought you wanted. In our heads, we are sometimes overwhelmed by who we are, what we think, what we need, what we think will make us happy. If we were able to Bakshu Panai, look at our insides carefully and figure out what we really want, what we really need, we would turn to Hashem completely differently. And so he continues and he says to Hashem, Al taster panecha mimeni, please don't hide your face from me. Al tatba avavdecha, don't turn away from or forsake your servant. As Rasi Hayisa, you have always been my help. Al tacheni al tazveni elokei. Please don't abandon me or forsake me. Ki avi ve'imi azavuni, because my father and my mother have forsaken me, but Hashem yasfeni, but Hashem takes care of all of our needs. I think, first of all, taking notice of the word that was used here to describe all of these requests that David HaMelech is making of Hashem now. Don't abandon me, look after me, don't turn away from me. We said that the word was Bakshu Panai, seek my face, see what I'm really asking for. And this contains the word Bakasha. Bakasha is a request that comes from our heart. So we spoke firstly about formal tefillah, that was Shema Hashem, listen to my formal tefillah. And now a different level of prayer, and that is Bakshu. Seek my Bakashas, look and see what's coming to you from my heart. That's a different level of prayer that we also obligated and want to normally much more easily want to do over this Yontif time. And he finishes off by saying, because Hashem, it's only you who I can rely on. Even my father and mother have abandoned me, and it's only you, Hashem, who can take care of me. The commentaries discuss this, like when was David HaMelech abandoned by his father and mother? And the commentaries say to us that what David HaMelech is telling us over here is that there is no one we can rely on forever, not even the people who love us. We can't rely on them forever and ever, because human beings will eventually abandon us. So it says, why does David HaMelech use this thing of Avi ve'imi azavuni, my father and my mother abandoned me? He says this is because we are abandoned by our parents immediately. From the moment of conception, a baby is conceived and the parents go to sleep. Already then, the parents have abandoned this baby, so to speak. Later on, a child is growing up, and what are parents doing all the time? they're abandoning their children, not necessarily in a negative way, but in order to help the child grow up, they stop doing things for the child. So they become an adult. They say, now you can go there yourself, you can drive there yourself, you can buy that yourself, right? You can, so however much they love us, they abandon us slowly to make us independent. And then obviously after 120, they aren't there for us in a practical way anymore. And so David HaMelech says, human beings, even the ones who love us most, our parents, eventually abandon us. The only one we can rely on for the things that we need is Hashem. Hashem yasfeini. Hashem will take care of me. Hashem will always be there for me. He is the one we can rely on absolutely and completely. So what we've seen in the last 3 little paragraphs, David HaMelech speaking mostly about tefillah, starting off by telling us how hard it is to daven, moving on to saying, Hashem, you've got to help us with this davening. He continues and speaks about formal prayer, the Shema Hashem, listen to us Hashem, as we get involved in formal prayer. He speaks about informal prayer, which is the bakashas, the things that come from our heart, Amar Libi, the things that we're asking for from our heart. And then he finishes off this little paragraph with the promise that Hashem Ya'asfeini, Hashem will always be there for us, and that we should put our trust and we should rely on Hashem. We should have that feeling. And I guess that is where we are going to finish today. I was so enthusiastic and finished preparing till the end of the parak, but running out of time. So I think that's where we will we'll end. Wish you all a good week, and today's Chai Elul, so I also wish you a good Yantif.
Amen. Thank you, Rivky.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rivky. It was wonderful.
Lovely.
Have a great Shabbos, everybody.
And you, and a good Shabbos. Good Shabbos to you.
Thank you, Rivky. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. It was really
Bye-bye.
fabulous.
Have a good Shabbos.
Bye-bye. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Thank
And
you,
try to stay
Rivky.
warm. Apparently it's going to be very cold.
Yes.
Try to stay warm. Yeah. Yeah. Is it freezing already? We have a beautiful day so far today.
It's raining.
It's raining. And Israel? How's Israel? I'm not just there anymore. Okay. Have a good Shabbos, everybody. Bye-bye.